Hello, this is teacher Mr. Loria. This is lecture quattro on Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare. Probably the last one on it, unless somebody sends me a question or a thought on life. By the way, I got an email the other day. Somebody was anyway. De nada. All right, this is kind of cool. In this lecture, we're going to get through the end of the play. We're going to talk about reconciliation. We're going to talk about character flaws. We're going to talk about sincerity. We're going to talk about whose fault this is, and then finally, what is love. Let's do that in less than 10 minutes. I'm going to start off with a story, and that story is, a part of my family. Let me simplify this. This group of siblings doesn't get along with that group of siblings, and they, argue and fight for years and years, and this has been an ancient grudge. And then when my grandfather was dying, one of his last wishes was, let's all love each other and get along. And everyone forgave each other, and it was really beautiful. Um, and that lasted for you know a solid month or two before it was back to normal. But um, it's unfortunate sometimes when people die, that seems to be a moment where the people that are alive are like, no, I'm going to make some grand change. Um, there's your preview in terms of the sincerity of the whole Capulets and Montagues burying the hatchet. But there's a lot of deaths in Act 5, Scene 3. There's four, if you name Paris, Romeo, Juliet, and Romeo's mama bites the dust. Um, let's talk about why a little bit. We're going to talk character flaws. When the Romeo, Friar Lawrence, Juliet. Starting with Romeo, we've already discussed the effects of extreme wealth. I saw The Wolf of Wall Street recently, and you're like, damn, man. It can really warp you. I'm not saying it does every time, but I'm saying it can. Absolute power can corrupt. Absolutely, absolute wealth can corrupt. We already mentioned the scene where he's buying the poison, and he's saying, you look, I see thou look poor. I pay thy poverty, not thy wealth. Really, just kind of wanted to focus on the transformation in Romeo. This does not sound like the Romeo that we have seen previously when he's telling his servant, if you come back, I will tear thee joint by joint and strew this hungry churchyard with thy limbs. It doesn't exactly sound like the Romeo we've seen before. Something interesting in the last scene that I started to notice only this time through is it seems to be having some trouble distinguishing reality from his thoughts, which is a sign of that somebody's not altogether here. I don't know if this is because he's been awake for days. I don't know if he's freaking out or whatever. But after he kills Paris and does honor his last wish and drag him into the tomb, I don't know if he does it to honor his last wish or to try to get some evidence out of the middle of the street right in front of the mausoleum. But whatever, he drags him in, and when he realizes it's Paris, he's like, you know what? Um, Mercutio told me that Paris should have married Juliet. Said he not so, or did I dream it so? Or am I mad hearing him talk of Juliet to think it was so? Right. So he's literally like openly questioning, like, did I hear that? Did I just think that? Am I mad? Am I crazy? Um, and he comes on in, has a long and semi bizarre and not that effective death speech. Sorry, um, and the saying, "Those who live by the sword die by the sword." It's a biblical saying. Everyone in Shakespeare's time would have known that. Of Romeo, I think those who live by the kiss die by the kiss. Right? He describes Juliet's beauty in depth in his last scene, um, and then thus with the kiss, I die. He dies. Boom. Romeo, adios. Um, in comes Friar Lawrence, and one could argue that this whole thing is Friar Lawrence's fault. We'll get to that in a minute. Um, one could argue that he's trying to cover it up pretty directly, and saying, "Listen, Juliet, get thee to the nunnery," essentially, right? A little Hamlet reference. And he's saying, "Listen, you got to come away. I'll dispose of thee among the sisterhood of holy nuns. Say not to question, for the watch is coming." Like, you got to make your choice now, right? You can come with me. I'll put you in a little cloistered nunnery. It's gonna be okay, right? You got to come with. um, and Juliet, right? She's very decisive, and she really does drive the actions of the play, right? Again, I think this should be called Juliet and Romeo, not Romeo and Juliet. And she's like, "No, get thee gone," and he leaves. Um, And she kisses Romeo not because Romeo's beautiful and blah blah blah, like he kisses her, but rather because she wants to pick up some of that poison. That not working, she takes her own life. Compare the length of Juliet's last lines, right? Yeah, noise, then I'll be brief, right? Oh, happy dagger, this is thy sheath. There rust, and let me die. Boom. 2 lines versus Romeo's long-winded, you know, essentially 2 pages. 2 lines versus 2 pages. Rambling and sporadic versus decisive and to the point. Those things really bear out in their last speeches. What is Juliet's flaw? I don't know. We've talked about before this whole my bounty is as deep as the ocean. That her love is so deep and so sincere that it could be a problem essentially. Something to consider. Also, she kind of has that love the rebel syndrome. I feel bad for these kind of girls that go after the biggest idiot dude, that they can find. Like, I'm gonna save him, right? And it doesn't really work. So I don't know if it's the love the rebel thing, and or that she loves so deeply. But the length of their speeches is pretty interesting. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question: whose fault is all these murders and these deaths? All right, just think on it. Whose fault? Maybe they wanted, some people like to have trials on this. I don't. I don't really like to play the blame game with the past or with literature. Sometimes it's a semi-interesting exercise, but let's talk about love and let's remember why we read books. We read books so that we can learn about life through stories, right? Literature exists so that we can learn about life through stories. And what do we learn about in Romeo and Juliet? We learn a lot about love, right? What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Sorry. Don't hurt me. All right. No, but what is love, right? You go through this entire play and like, Juliet loves Romeo, Romeo loves Juliet, and then you're finally like, what is love? And it begs the question, doesn't it? I think that we learn about romantic teenage love. We learn about the wild kind of flurry of love, which is difficult at first. I want to talk about 3 quotes about love. One's Rainer Maria Rilke, and then two of my other favorite authors, Hesse and Dostoevsky. Rainer Maria Rilke says that love is good too, love being beautiful. For one human being to love another is the ultimate task, the task for which all other tasks are but mere preparation. That is why, here comes the interesting part, that is why young people cannot know love. They must learn it, right? That is why young people cannot know love. They must learn it. And I always, when I was young, I was like, that doesn't really make sense, right? They have to learn love? What are you talking about? I feel it now. Let's talk about Hesse. Hesse says in Beneath the Wheel, he says he was like someone in love for the first time. He felt capable of performing the great heroic deeds, but not the daily chore of boring, petty work, right? That tends to something else too, that love is work, right? After the kind of the honeymoon period is over, which never happened with Romeo and Juliet, therein begins the work part, right? It's difficult. And then finally, Dostoevsky in Brothers K says that love in action is a harsh and dreadful thing compared with love in dreams, right? Love in action is a harsh and dreadful thing compared with love in dreams. Beautiful. So, what is love? I don't know what it is. I'm not going to be that presumptuous. But I will say that I know what it is not. And I don't, it is not an ABCD answer. It is not, an Oxford English, an OED definition of something. But it's something that elevates life, that makes it more beautiful. And it's something that I'm honored to learn more about and participate with as we go through life. So there you go. Romeo and Juliet. Shakespeare. Again, thoughts, questions, concerns, comments, thoughts on life, email. I might even make an Instagram, maybe, just to try. But anyway, thank you for being here. Andale pues, and stay classy.